PLC Network here, and we have an unboxing for you. And this all came in comes to you thanks to a question that came in to us from Peter Halsey. And Peter says, he kind of called us out here for some reason, and he says, not too long ago, you did a review on the Foscam R2, a 2K IP camera. You did most of the models before it as well, but for some reason you skipped the R2. So what about the R2? Is it any good, or is there a reason why you have never discussed it? Well, I guess the answer to that, Peter, is we just never had a chance to discuss it. We never got our hands on an R2. Foscam never sent one to us, so sometimes we get stuff from companies, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we have other means of getting our hands on something, and sometimes it just doesn't happen. And the R2 is one of those. So yes, it did get skipped. It did not get skipped because we didn't like it. It just got skipped because we just didn't have an opportunity to give it a look. But thankfully, since you bring it up, well, we got our hands on one, and so we're going to pop it open here. We're going to see what it looks like and see what it comes with. And then we'll take a look at some imagery and see what it looks like as well. So opening the box, you come to a little fold-out here. It's just a quick setup guide that has this very confusing diagram. I'm just kidding. It's just a normal diagram that tells you about all the parts and pieces that come with the camera, how to hook it up, and everything else. It's short and simple. It's sweet if you have any familiarity or experience with any kind of IP cameras. The camera looks a lot like the R4 actually. You have your camera in the front. It's a nice little ball that can tilt up and down. The camera, or at the base, it can rotate left and right. So you can get pretty much 360 degrees of protection with your camera depending on where you mount it. You have a little speaker in the back, so you can do two-way audio, back and forth with somebody if you want to chat. You have a reset button here, it's a WPS reset. You have a camera mount at the bottom, where it's threaded here. You also have rubberized feet down here, so if you just want to set it down, it's not going to slide anywhere. You have on the back just your power input here, your Ethernet input here if you want to go wired, and of course your antenna, your threads for your antenna, where you're going to install the antenna, which is further down into the box. In the accessory box that's underneath the camera, you have your typical mount that if you've ever worked with any of Foscam's cameras, you're going to see one of these in there. It's bigger, smaller, it doesn't matter. It usually comes with one of these, and this is actually one of those mentioned mic mounts. So you can just screw it in there into the threads at the bottom of the camera, and you can just mount it any which way you want to, if in case you don't want to mount it directly to a surface. But if you already have a mountable surface using the threads, you can just mount it upside down like that. If not, you can use this to mount it on a wall or on a ceiling, so you can get whatever angle that you're looking for. You have your power cable here, which is just your typical Edison plug. And you have 2 screws and 2 anchors for installing it with. You do get an Ethernet cable, and of course you get the antenna, which just conveniently, quite easily, screws right onto the back, flips down, flips up, however which way you want it to orientate, and you're done. So it is a 1080p camera. So again, it's a lot like the R4. The R4 is, as you mentioned, Peter, a 2K camera. This is half of that resolution at just 1080p, and it should be quite comparable to some of their other 1080p cameras. It supports their applications, so you can access it remotely, as well as cloud storage if you want to pay for their cloud storage. And it looks like there is this round at least, I completely skipped the side of the camera. There is an SD slot right there on the other side, opposite from the reset button. There's an SD slot, so you can record video locally to the camera with an SD card. So the question is, does it look good? So let's take a look and see what the imagery looks like.
So what we have here is we're getting an idea of what it looks like during the daytime, and we wanted to put it to a test. So we gave it large, fast-moving objects like cars going by, because that gives it a good test against its frame rate. And it does pretty good for what it is. Things do get a little choppy once in a while, especially at night. Not so much during the day. It's a little bit better during the day, but sometimes when you have a lot of movement going across the screen, you do get a bit of choppiness going on here. It's really not too bad though. The picture quality is pretty crisp and clear, and it ends up turning out pretty nicely. So it should be good for both indoors or outdoors, even though this is definitely made for indoors. It's not weatherproof or anything. So now we have what it looks like during the night. We're going to get a little bit more choppier on the graphics here. So you can definitely get an example here in terms of fast moving objects. Like you see this car here that's pulling out to the left, it completely freezes up and then catches up eventually. But we definitely lose it. It does offer live access using their app as well as cloud recording, so you can actually go back and look at a timeline. And it also offers SD cards, so you can save locally. However, we couldn't get the SD card to work despite formatting it to FAT32 like it asks for.
So there you go, Peter. There is the R2 camera just for you and anybody else who wants to see the unboxing and to get an idea what this camera looks like. But thank you for your keen observation. And again, we did not skip this camera because we didn't like it or anything like that. We just simply didn't have the opportunity that we have today to actually take a look at it. And for everybody else, and Peter as well, if you liked what you've seen here, don't forget to check us out online at pocnetwork.net, where we have tons and tons of content. And of course, our video section there and or right here on YouTube. And there is a subscription button down there if you want to follow us, as well as a comment area so we can all discuss this. And as always, we thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time. If you want to stay on top of all the latest and greatest, and or at least the gadgets we cover, remember to subscribe right here. Subscription button. Click it. You're going to want to. There's lots of videos, interviews, previews, all sorts of stuff. Button. Click it.